What if the person you trusted to protect your family was actually protecting a secret that could tear everything apart? Imagine this: a gunshot, a wounded man, and a teenage boy standing right in the middle of it all, with blood on his hands and a story that doesn't quite add up. Now imagine a father, a trained detective, someone whose entire career is built around spotting lies and finding the truth. Slowly, piece by piece, starting to sense that something is deeply, dangerously wrong. That father, he doesn't know the full story yet, but the walls are closing in fast. And today, we are talking about one of the most emotionally charged, tension-filled storylines happening right now on General Hospital. Because, friends, this cover-up, it is unraveling. And when it finally falls apart, nobody in Port Charles is going to be ready for what comes next. Stay with me, because this story is about to go places that will absolutely blow your mind. Welcome back, soap fans. If you have been keeping up with General Hospital lately, then you already know that Port Charles is no stranger to secrets, lies, and explosive revelations. But what's building right now? This is something else entirely. We're talking about Dante Falconeri, one of GH's most beloved characters, a man of integrity, a cop with sharp instincts, and a father who loves his son more than anything in the world. But right now, Dante is standing on the edge of a truth that is going to hit him like a freight train. His son, Rocco Falconeri, fired the shot that wounded Ross Cullum. Let that sink in for a moment. A teenager, a gun, and a cover-up so carefully constructed that even Dante, a seasoned detective, hasn't been able to crack it open yet. But things are changing. And today, we're going to walk through every single detail of how this web of secrets is starting to unravel, who is involved, what clues are piling up, and most importantly, who might be the one to finally hand Dante the truth he so desperately needs to find. This is going to be a long ride, so buckle up. Let's get into it. Part 1. Dante is connecting the dots, but he's still missing the biggest one. Let's start with Dante himself. Now, Dante is not just any character on this show. This is a man who has spent years working in law enforcement. He knows how criminals think. He knows how liars behave. He knows what a genuine story looks like versus one that has been carefully rehearsed. And lately, something has been nagging at him. He knows that things don't add up when it comes to what happened the night Ross Cullum was shot. He's been turning it over in his mind, looking at the facts, examining the timeline, and quietly collecting little pieces of information, like a detective instinctively builds a case even when he's not officially working one. But here's the painful irony. The one piece of the puzzle that would make everything crystal clear, the one piece that would finally make the whole picture snap into focus, is also the one piece that would destroy him emotionally. Because that missing piece is his own son. Dante still doesn't know. He has no idea that Rocco was the one who actually pulled that trigger. He doesn't know that everything he's been told about that night has been carefully constructed to keep him in the dark. He doesn't know that Jason Morgan, the man he's been watching with suspicion, stepped in and took responsibility for something he didn't even do. Not yet. But every day that passes, Dante gets a little closer to the truth. Part 2, Jason Morgan and the hand that started it all. Let's talk about Jason Morgan for a second, because this is where the story gets really interesting. Jason is a character who has been around General Hospital for a very long time. He's a fixer, a man who operates in the shadows, someone who does what needs to be done without asking a lot of questions, and without leaving a trail. So when Jason stepped in and took the blame for shooting Ross Cullum, most people didn't question it. It fit his profile perfectly. Of course, Jason would do something like that. That's just who he is. Except Dante noticed something small, something that a lot of people might have overlooked entirely. Jason's hand was injured. Now, for anyone else, a hand wound might not raise any red flags. Accidents happen, right? But for Dante, who knows exactly who Jason Morgan is and what he's capable of, that injury didn't make sense. A professional, someone with Jason's level of experience handling weapons, getting hurt like that during a shooting? It didn't add up. A real expert doesn't fumble. A real expert doesn't come away from a job with a wound like that. And Dante, even if he couldn't explain exactly why it bothered him, felt it in his gut that something was off. That hand injury became the very first thread in a sweater that is slowly being pulled apart. Part 3. Ross Cullum starts asking questions of his own. Now, here's where things get even more complicated, because Dante isn't the only one who senses that the story doesn't quite hold together. Ross Cullum, the man who was actually shot, has been doing some investigating of his own. And recently, he went to ask Elizabeth Baldwin some pointed questions. Specifically, he wanted to know whether she might have treated Jason's hand wound at General Hospital, rather than at the police department, where Jason was officially treated. Now, on the surface, that might seem like a fairly routine question, but think about what Cullum is really doing here. He's trying to establish where Jason was treated. He's trying to figure out if the timeline of events holds up. He's probing for inconsistencies in the story. And the show chose to have this conversation happen with Elizabeth. That is not an accident. In soap opera storytelling, nothing is an accident. Every scene, every conversation, every seemingly small detail is placed there for a reason. The writers wanted Elizabeth to know about Jason's hand. They wanted her to have that information stored away in the back of her mind. And now we need to talk about why that matters so much. Part 4. Elizabeth Baldwin, the woman who might know too much. Elizabeth Baldwin has been part of General Hospital for a very long time. She's a nurse. She's kind, compassionate, and deeply perceptive. She's also someone who cares enormously about the people she loves and about doing what's right, even when it's difficult. And right now, Elizabeth is sitting on a mountain of information that she probably doesn't even fully realize she has. Here's what Elizabeth knows. She knows about Jason's hand injury because Cullum made sure to bring it up in their conversation. She knows that on the same night Cullum was shot, Lulu Spencer brought young Rocco into the hospital to get a hand wound treated. Rocco's story was that he'd cut himself in the kitchen, a simple household accident. Nothing suspicious. Except, Elizabeth is a nurse. She has seen hundreds of wounds in her career. She knows what a kitchen cut looks like, and she knows what other kinds of injuries look like too. And then there's the other thing, the thing that really should have set alarm bells ringing. Elizabeth witnessed something deeply disturbing near Ross Cullum's hospital room. She saw Britt Westbourne, a character known for being sharp, composed, and never easily rattled, absolutely come apart at the sight of Rocco. We're talking visible shock, visible fear, the kind of reaction you have when you see someone and something clicks into place that horrifies you. Now, Elizabeth is a smart woman. She doesn't miss things like that. When someone of Britt's caliber reacts that strongly to a teenage boy standing near a shooting victim's room, you don't just chalk that up to coincidence and move on, Elizabeth noticed, and she filed it away. Part 5. The matching wounds. The detail that changes everything here is possibly the most explosive piece of this entire story. And it's something so simple, so clean, so quietly devastating that when Elizabeth finally puts it all together, it's going to hit her like a wall of ice water. Jason Morgan had a hand injury the night Cullum was shot. Rocco Falconeri had a hand injury the same night. 2 people. 2 hand wounds, 1 shooting, 1 victim. In any other circumstance, maybe that's just a strange coincidence. But when you add in everything else Elizabeth knows, the timing, Britt's terrified reaction near Cullum's room, the suspicious nature of Rocco's kitchen accident story, those matching injuries stop being a coincidence and start being an answer. Jason didn't shoot Ross Cullum. Rocco did. And Jason, in a moment of loyalty and protection, stepped in to take the blame. He covered for a scared kid. He let himself become the suspect so that Rocco could walk away clean. That is the truth. And Elizabeth is standing right on the edge of it. Part 6. Lulu and Cassius. The cover-up has more cracks than they know now. Elizabeth isn't the only pressure point on this situation. The cover-up itself has multiple people holding it together, and multiple places where it's starting to crack. Lulu Spencer is one of those people. She was the one who rushed Rocco to the hospital that night. She was the one who helped construct the kitchen accident story. She's been working overtime to keep the truth from getting out. And then there's Nathan West, or more accurately, Cassius Faison, the character played by Ryan Peavy, walking around Port Charles under an assumed identity with his own complicated history and motivations. Together, Lulu and Cassius have been trying to hold this thing together. But here's the problem with cover-ups, especially ones that involve multiple people, multiple moving parts, and multiple potential witnesses. The more people who know a secret, the more fragile that secret becomes. Every person who knows the truth is another potential leak, another pair of eyes that might make a wrong move, another set of emotions that might eventually override the logical desire to stay quiet. And the noose is tightening. Slowly, steadily, inevitably, the cover-up is losing ground. Now, for anyone who might be newer to General Hospital or who might need a little more context to fully appreciate the weight of what's happening here, let's take a step back and talk about who these characters are and why this story hits so differently because of them. Dante Falconeri is, at his core, a man who believes in the law. He became a police officer because he genuinely wants to protect people. He wants justice. He wants truth. Those things are fundamental to who he is. But he's also a father. And those two parts of his identity, the cop and the dad, are about to go to war with each other in the most brutal way possible. Because when Dante finally finds out that his son shot someone, he's not going to be able to just put on his badge and handle it professionally. He's going to be destroyed. He's going to have to make impossible choices. Does he protect his son? Does he do his job? Does he let the truth come out, or does he become part of the cover-up himself? That is the kind of emotional complexity that makes General Hospital such extraordinary television. It's not just about who did what. It's about what the truth costs. It's about what love makes people do. It's about the impossible spaces we find ourselves in when the things we value most are in direct conflict with each other. And Rocco himself, let's not forget that at the center of all of this is a teenager. A kid who made a terrifying decision in a frightening moment and who is now carrying the weight of that decision on his shoulders every single day. How does something like that change a young person? How does living with a secret that big affect the way you see yourself, the way you relate to your parents, the way you move through the world? These are the questions that General Hospital is setting up to explore. And that's why this story matters so much. So what does all of this actually mean going forward? Let's break it down. The most likely scenario, based on everything we've discussed, is that Elizabeth Baldwin is going to be the one who finally brings this secret into the open. She has the most pieces. She's in the best position to connect them. And she has both the compassion and the integrity to feel that Dante, a man she has interacted with more and more lately, deserves to know the truth about his own son. That conversation, when it happens, is going to be one of the most emotionally raw scenes General Hospital has produced in a very long time. Because Elizabeth isn't just going to be delivering news, she's going to be handing Dante something that will fundamentally alter the course of his life and his relationship with his son. And what happens next? Well, that depends on Dante. Does he confront Rocco immediately? Does he go to Lulu? Does he try to protect the family by keeping the secret himself, and in doing so, compromise everything he stands for? Or does he do the hard thing, the painful thing, and bring the truth forward no matter what it costs? There's also the question of Jason. Because if the truth comes out, then Jason's cover story collapses entirely. And that opens up a whole new set of complications for everyone involved. And Lulu and Cassius, their role in the cover-up is going to become extremely hard to explain away once Dante knows the real story. There will be consequences. There will be confrontations. And there will be moments that none of these characters and none of us watching will be able to take back. This is the kind of storyline that changes everything. The kind that has ripple effects reaching across multiple characters and multiple plots for months, maybe even longer, and it's all building to a breaking point that feels very, very close. So here's where we leave things today. Dante is collecting puzzle pieces, but he hasn't seen the whole picture yet. Elizabeth is on the verge of seeing it more clearly than anyone else. And the cover-up that Lulu and Cassius have worked so hard to maintain is slowly, quietly falling apart. One small detail at a time. When this thing finally breaks open, it is going to be explosive, emotional, heartbreaking, and absolutely unmissable television. But I want to know what you think. Do you believe Elizabeth is the one who will bring the truth to Dante? Or do you think someone else is going to crack first, and when Dante finally finds out what Rocco did, how do you think he's going to react? Is he going to choose justice, or is he going to choose family? Drop your thoughts in the comments right now. I read every single one, and I genuinely love hearing your take on where these stories are heading. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button, ring the notification bell, and make sure you never miss a single update on everything happening in Port Charles. Because trust me, things are just getting started. I'll see you in the next one. Take care of yourselves, Soap family, and as always, stay hooked on the drama.